Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia Jay, and I'm here with Ashley Nicole Moss and Terrika Foster-Brasby. Hello, ladies. And we have so much to talk about, especially when it comes to the WNBA, but just in general about women's sports. But before we do that, we need you guys to lock in. You can find us on YouTube. We're on all the social channels. Like, subscribe, comment. We just hit 100K on YouTube, which is amazing. So you want to make sure that you're locked in with that community, our community, and that you get all of these alerts to these shows. So make sure you do that before the end of the show. But listen, we have a lot of show to cover, ladies. Let's jump right into it. Angel Reese, we love her. We love Angel Reese, but she had a lot of things to say recently in an article. And, she was a little frustrated with these comments that she made. And we're just going to get right into it and read the comment that everybody is talking about. And that is, she said, "I'm not settling for the same bleep." Let's put a bleep in there because I'm not trying to get fined. I'm not settling for the same bleep we did this year. We have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. I'm willing and wanting to play with the best. And then she goes on to say, "I like to be here for my career, but if things don't pan out, obviously I might have to move in a different direction and do what's best for me." And those are just some of the comments that were in this particular article. But she has since went on to apologize. And we want to play that too, because it's very important. So please roll that.
Are you frustrated with the organization or frustrated in general?
I don't think I'm frustrated. I probably am frustrated myself right now. I think the language is taken out of context, and I really didn't intentionally mean to put down my teammates because they've been through this with me throughout the whole year. They've busted their ass just how I busted my ass. They showed up for me through thick and thin and in the locker room when nobody could see anything. So I would apologize to my teammates, which I already have, about the article and how it was misconstrued, about what was said. And I just have to be better with my language because I know it's not the message, it's the messenger, and understanding what I say can be taken any kind of way. So I just have to really be better and grow from this.
So Terrika, we're going to start with you. When you hear these comments, see what she said, and then also the apology, what are your thoughts about her future with the Sky?
Well, she's still under her rookie deal. So her future with the Sky most immediately is she's still going to be with the Sky. So that's the first thing that folks probably need to calm down about. She's not leaving in 2026. I covered the game yesterday, which was the game immediately following these comments. And honestly, Chicago looked the best they had looked all season. And I said to my play-by-play off camera, maybe these comments lit a fire up under them, right? Maybe they felt the way and it lit a fire up under them. I understand what she's trying to say, right? And I don't necessarily think her language was the part that maybe... I don't think it was the language. I think it was the timing. These are not comments that one would necessarily make during the season, but they are valid comments to have. This is an organization that for many years now have seemingly fumbled the bag when it comes to players, star players, building a roster that makes sense. If Candace Parker and Kalia Copper wasn't the saving grace in 2021, I don't know what it was. And I can understand where her frustration stems from, but these are not comments that you make during the end or the close of the season. This is something that you say once the season is over, for the fact that you still have to go in the locker room with these women. You still have to deal with the coaches sitting on that bench. You still have to deal with the front office for at least another 5 games. And so these are things that you would expect a star to say, but you would expect them to say it maybe off season or not at the close of the season when you're trying to finish strong. And so to me, it was more so the timing than what was said. Stand on business with what you said, sis, but the timing absolutely could have been better.
Yeah, I feel like here's the thing, if this is something that she has already expressed to her teammates in the locker room, then maybe it doesn't sting as much and there's no need for an apology, right? But it sounds like from what she said that her teammates were hearing this in real time, which as someone who's kind of been in the trenches with you. Look, nobody wants to be on a team that's not performing well. We all know the Sky are a work in progress. They weren't going to be a championship contender this season. So everyone's going through the motions together. Everybody's feeling the emotions of the highs and the lows together. So it sounds to me like this kind of hit her locker room from the side as well, just like it did everybody who was reading it in the public. And that's never something you want to hear when you are kind of giving it your all and you're in it just as your star player is in it. So I think that that's where it gets a little uncomfortable, and that's where it gets a little sticky. Again, I agree with Terrika. There's nothing wrong with expressing your frustration, and sometimes that frustration ultimately leads the organization to be better. But one, it's timing, and two, if this is something that you feel that you're going to go on the record and say, and knowing how the media works at times and how fans like to pick things apart and nitpick, it's definitely something that I feel like she probably should have expressed to her teammates first so that they kind of weren't blindsided. And that sounds like to me what they ultimately were, which is where the unfortunate part of this situation comes in.
Definitely an unfortunate part of the situation, but what I do appreciate is her apology. It was a true apology. It wasn't beating around the bush. It wasn't blaming it on anyone else. It was saying that she is literally, disappointed with herself and how she handled the situation. She didn't apologize for necessarily calling the organization out. And we know traditionally, and just from looking at the outside of things, that the Sky do need a lot of improvements, okay? I mean, you could look at their record and see that. And so when you think about improving and you think about what they have in the next draft, Terrika, who do you think they should kind of go for based on the draft class that we think is coming down the line?
You know what? If I'm being completely honest, Alicia, which I always am, I don't think that needs to be their focus. Like, they honestly need to be focusing on cleaning up the organization as it currently stands and not focused on draft 2026. You got to make sure that you can keep Angel and Camilla happy. You need to be wondering about what's going to happen with the roster you currently have. Are you going to move forward with Tyler Marsh in this next year, or are you going to make another head coaching change? Like, the draft is the last thing that you need to be thinking about at this exact moment. We still don't know where the new facility is, or at least I don't know. I thought that we would see something about the new facility, that was going to be broken ground and where it was going to be located and what the progress is. There are so many other things that you need to address in your immediate future, that worrying about the 2026 draft, get there when you get there, because there's still an expansion draft that we hope needs to happen for two teams, not one, two. So what players are you going to consider protecting? Who do you have currently that you think that you, and that's even if there are players that will be offered to be protected, considering that 80% of the league is a free agent in this upcoming year. So again, focus on immediate changes, worry about the draft when you get there.
Well, there is certainly a lot that the Sky have to do, and that's just a fact. So we're going to keep our eye on this, because there's some changes coming down the line, whether they like it or not, right? Like, it's going to have to happen for them to succeed. But when we come back, we're going to keep it with the W, because we have some teams that we need to watch down the stretch as we head into the playoffs. So we'll see you right when we come back, right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
Welcome back, everyone, to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Ashley, Alicia, and Terrika here. And look, girls, if you can believe it, the WNBA regular season is almost finished. We are entering the final week. And there's still lots to decide between a bunch of the teams. So kind of let's run down what we do know so far, right? The Lynx, Aces, Dream, Mercury, Liberty are locked in. The Valkyries, Storm, Fever, and Sparks are battling it out for the final three spots. Here are the current WNBA standings. Now, to give you an idea of what the Valkyries, they have a big game tonight. With a win tonight, the Valkyries will officially clinch a playoff spot, which is huge for a team in its very first year. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on Atlanta. New York's interesting. Like I said, although they have clinched a playoff spot, they're not getting any healthier. And this is a team that started off red hot. LA currently, as we know, is ninth. But Indianapolis doesn't look great. There are a bunch of things to kind of dissect when we are looking ahead of this final week. Terrika, starting with you, I mean, obviously looking at these current odds for the WNBA championship, the Lynx and Liberty are still at the very top, which is no surprise. They've kind of been holding steady the entire regular season, but obviously the Aces are the biggest surprise here with the championship odds, considering how they started the season. But I want to focus on a team right now that has a chance to clinch a playoff spot. Terrika, like I said, I'll start with you. The fact that the Valkyries are even in this position in their first year in the W is extremely impressive. I mean, what have you made of their inaugural season so far?
I love the fact that this team has taken pieces that so many others have considered to be role players and given them an opportunity to shine, specifically Veronica Burton. And I'll talk about her more in a second. But I love the way that this team has really built a culture. They've built a culture, they've built a tradition, and they have stayed steadfast on doing what works well for them individually, turning it into a collective thing. Very much reminds me of my Detroit Pistons back in 2004, right? It was a bunch of people who folks felt weren't really going to be stars on any other team, and they came banded together, defensively led the way, and became NBA champions. Right now, I'm holding my horses here because I'm not saying that I think that the Golden State Valkyries can win a championship, but who says they can't, right? They've already defied the odds that were stacked against them this year in particular. So I love the way that this team is building their own identity off the fact that folks didn't think that they had one. They're also building a culture in that area. And that's so fun to see, the way that Golden State is just really buying in, the city, the fans, everybody's buying into what they have. And so I think they're riding that momentum alongside players like Veronica Burton and alongside players like Mobile, who just got back, alongside a Tiffany Hayes, who for the better part of this season had been one of the catalysts for this team. So I love what they're building and what they're doing, and they're playing fearless, right? When you have no expectations, you're playing fearlessly, you're playing more confident. So to me, that's the momentum that you need heading into the postseason.
I mean, listen, you know I'm a Bay Area girl, so I'm definitely biased, but I am so happy that the Valkyries have had the season that they have had. And I'm also happy that they could potentially clinch this in front of Valhalla. That, like you said, Terrika, that crowd has been steadfast in, you know, their support for the team, but also even Temifag Benlay said the other night, just support of basketball. Sometimes she said they were a little too nice to people when they came in because they just love WNBA basketball in general. And so when I think about them actually clinching in front of this crowd that has been electric every single night, you know, when I've been to the games, that has been the highlight for me. Obviously, I love watching the team play, but to be in that environment and to have this team that is so selfless, that has one goal, that is not playing any games when it comes to getting in these playoffs, and to have them do this at home, I would love to see that. I think that would be an amazing moment for the W and just for the Valkyries in general, based on what they've done this year and how hard they've worked to get to where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when we talk about working hard, I mean, I want to switch gears to a different team or two different teams. Obviously, the Minnesota Lynx and the Aces, they're going to play on Thursday, which is tonight. And it's interesting because it's two teams on different ends of the spectrum, right? You have the Lynx, who've kind of been riding high all season, and they were really able to stay afloat with Fee's injury, which just, I think, speaks to the testament of how good this team is. Obviously, Fee's been in the MVP contention conversation for the entire season. And then you talk about the Aces, who before the All-Star break looked very uncharacteristic of the Aces that we know and that have won multiple championships. And they really hit that switch. We've talked about that a lot on this podcast. Alicia, I know that these are two teams that you are really excited to watch battle it out tonight for two different reasons. Kind of walk us through why.
I'm excited. Yes, they are in the playoffs. They both have clinched a spot, but this is going to be kind of a preview of what I feel like we can see in the playoffs, these two teams matching up against each other. And you have to remember, The Aces, when they have played the Lynx in the last two games, they lost by 31 and 53. So I'm trying to see them come back and have a little redemption arc when it comes to playing the Lynx. So I am excited for this game because it's going to be a good one. I feel like it's going to be good. You have the Aces coming back from where we did not think they would be. You know, they had a season that was very uncharacteristic of them and not one that we expected. And they've come back to be where they're at in the standings and to clinch this spot. And then you have the Aces who have stayed up there the whole entire time. They're exactly where we thought they would be. But they got to play each other. It's going to be a really good preview of things to come for what we're going to see. And also, the Aces got to get their lick back. I mean, that 31 and 53, I'm coming to play no matter what game it is. Okay.
Can I also add to that I think you also see this matchup and think that it's possibly a preview of what the MVP conversation will look like at the end. If you're a voter, you're looking at this matchup and you're like, all right, what better way to evaluate where I want to place my MVP vote than watching A'ja Wilson and Nafisa Collier battle it out head to head. And I don't necessarily think a win or a loss, at least I'm a voter, and for me, a win or a loss doesn't necessarily make a difference one way or the other, but the performance does. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So even if you take away the team aspect, just again, the other overarching storyline is Fee's been the front runner this entire time. A'ja Wilson has come seemingly out of nowhere, but if you've been paying attention, it ain't been out of nowhere because she's been balling like this all season. But here's an opportunity for these two players to kind of battle it out one-on-one. Who's the one that is leading their team? Who's the one that's really putting the team on their back? And I think that is a matchup in and of itself that brings a lot of eyes and a lot of attention on what we can expect.
Before we close out this segment and head to break, I want to ask you both, and I'll start with you, Terrika. I mean, obviously, a lot of people had going into this season that the rematch would be between the Lynx and the Liberty going into the WNBA finals. But as I mentioned, the Liberty are sitting fifth in the playoffs right now, but they're not getting any healthier, which is a direct contrast to the team that we saw last season, which ultimately helped them go as far as they did and ultimately helped them win the entire thing. The health and the way that they were able to maintain that health throughout the entire season was a big catalyst outside of how skilled they are. Concerns about the Liberty as they go into the postseason, but their health doesn't seem to be following them into the postseason. And anything, they may be leaving it in the regular season.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about New York. And I know this is a veteran team. I know these are players that have been here and done that. These are champions. They absolutely know how to pull it together. But at no point in this season were we able to truly see a fully healthy New York. At some point in the season, there was always one key piece that was missing for an extended period of time. And I know it probably sounds crazy, but that still needs a gel, right? Like when you've got your key players and you've got key pieces missing, at some point, even when they all come back together, there still needs to be time for them to regain that confidence and regain that way that they work out with each other, the way that they play with each other. Problem is, you ain't got no time right now. Like the time is over. The time is up at this point. Like we are here. So that does concern me a little bit. I always have to say experience will play a part in a team that's kind of failing and not failing in the essence of not being successful, but just not meeting the expectation that was set for this team. But I believe that New York will find a way to pull it out. I believe they'll make a deep run, at least into the semifinals. But I'm not necessarily sold as I was at one point in this season that they will be the team competing to rehold their WNBA championship.
I hope that they surprise us. I really, really do. And come back because they have obviously the talent to do it. They have the team chemistry to do it. We've seen it, but I could not reiterate this more with what Terrika just said is the timing of it. I think if there was a couple more weeks in this with their health and just the way that they're progressing right now and where they're at with their progression, if there was a couple more weeks, I'd feel a lot better about this. But I just think, unfortunately, just with everything that they've had to overcome this season, I just don't necessarily see it. I hope they surprise me, but I don't necessarily see it. So the timing, I think, in this case is just not working out in their favor.
And the playoffs are longer this year. Just to throw that
Good
out
point.
there.
Yeah, good point. Listen, Phil Jackson said it best. Winning a championship is part luck and part skill, and the luck is how healthy your team is when it's all said and done. When we come back, we are diving into storylines, and there are a lot of them to go around in the WNBA. You don't want to miss it, and make sure in the meantime you subscribe to our YouTube channel, like all of our socials, because you don't want to miss what we have in store for the rest of the WNBA season. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And we've been talking WNBA, and now we're going to talk a little bit more, but about the storylines that we didn't feel like got enough love this season. There were so many storylines. We had a lot to talk about, and we are obviously continuing to talk about it. But what are some storylines that, you at home think about, some things that you might want to have brought up, and drop them in any comments when you see this on YouTube. We post this on YouTube afterwards. Please join the conversation. But Ashley, I'm going to start with you. What do you think needs a little bit more recognition when it comes to the W this season?
I think for me it's two things, and I'm going to focus on rookies. And I think one, the Mystics and the rookies and how they've really been able to handle that transition and the short transition we talk about all the time, from the collegiate game to declaring for the draft to training camp to preseason, and then ultimately the regular season. Obviously, the rookies on the Mystics have been just killing it and making that adjustment seem just so seamless. And I don't know if it's because they don't have the pressure to perform as a team, meaning the expectations for them aren't as high. So they're kind of just going out there and doing what I think all athletes want to do, and that's just play with love and just play with enjoyment. And I think that just most of the time brings out the best aspects of your game. And I wouldn't say the storyline doesn't or isn't getting enough love or deserves more love, because I think we all love her, but Paige Beckers, just have to highlight her. I mean, what she's been able to do as a rookie, and obviously the Dallas Wings still have a lot of things that they need to do to improve as an overall team, and one player isn't going to drastically change that. I think that's just an unfair weight that a lot of the times people put on rookies, that they're going to be the savior, the messiah that turns the ship around, and it's a lot more than just one player, especially a player in their rookie season. But I mean, this is what she was named Rookie of the Month for a third straight month in a row. She's just been balling, and I think it's because she's had such a long career in college, and she comes from UConn, and we all know how those players under Coach Gino come out of that program ready to go. But I think also we're just happy to see a healthy Paige Beckers. I think that's the biggest thing. So much of her collegiate career, and what she could have accomplished earlier before winning the whole thing, was just plagued by injury. And it was just so frustrating to watch as a basketball fan, a women's basketball fan, and a Paige Beckers fan. And I think that her really being in her rookie season, and it being a healthy rookie season, I think is something that we should all be celebrating. And I think most people are, but just to highlight it one more time, just she's been killing it and she's been healthy. And that to me is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
How about you,
If
Terrika?
I
What do you think needs a little bit more love this year?
Yeah, you know what? We ain't give enough love to Tina Charles. To me, that is a story that is continually overlooked. Tina Charles is 36 years old, and just last night, she just broke Diana Taurasi's record of having the most field goals in WNBA history, and she did it in less games. Tina Charles is someone, when we talk about future Hall of Famers, yeah, we mention her, but I don't think people put enough respect on Tina's name. She's been doing this at this level for 14 years, and that's not including what she did at the collegiate level and being a champion at the University of Connecticut, while we're talking about UConn, Ashley. So I think this season we have, because Connecticut's record has been what it has been, because, she's not playing for a flashy team and she isn't the flashiest player. I don't think people truly understand the gravity of what it means to be competing the way that she competes, to be the team's leading scorer, to be a person who said, listen, I'm coming back this year to play basketball just for the fun of it. I'm not not looking for accolades. I'm not looking to win a championship. I'm a veteran player that wants to give back to the game in this way. I love being around the younger players and giving them the keys to be successful. She's doing that while also still dropping 19 points and 10 assists. And 10 rebounds, excuse me. She's also doing this while continuing to lead and being the Eastern Conference Player of the Week 2 weeks ago. Like, she is still being a vintage, like, she's continually showing us vintage Tina from when she was in her prime. But just to do it at this age and at this stage, and 36 ain't old. I ain't trying to put, I'm 41, so 36 ain't old. I don't mean it like that. However, for 14 years, you've been consecutively this good. Like, I don't think that Tina Charles gets enough love. So that's a storyline to me that has gone overlooked this season.
Tina Charles is definitely one of many players that does not get enough accolades in the W. So we could do a whole episode on that, and that's for sure. Something else that I just wanted to touch on that I think needs way more love is just representation in coaching in the W. This year, there's only one Black woman head coach in the W. And just 2 years ago, half of the 12 teams had Black head coaches. This year, there were only 3. And only one of them was a woman. In 2023, 8 of the 12 WNBA head coaches were women, which was a record number at the time. And so when you look at these stats and you look at the players that actually play in this league, we need to look at why the representation is not there and why it has almost regressed rather than, either stayed at the high numbers that it was at or gotten better. And so when you look at that, it's just a story that I don't think enough people are talking about. We need to look at, the practices of why we're hiring certain coaches. We need to look at why we're not having representation in WNBA coaches. And it's just something that I believe has gone under the radar for one reason or another. There's been some people that have talked about it. There's been some chatter a little bit about it, but I think that is a story that needs to be centered more and needs to be looked at, now and for just the duration of this league. You could say that across many women's leagues as well. But when it comes to the W, that's something I think needs to be looked at for sure.
I think we also and we've had this conversation just like off air, but like, I'm not really sure I understand the hiring process of head coaches in the W as a whole. Like, I think that it's odd to me how there are coaches who get head coaching positions with no experience, but then like someone, for example, we've spoken about it, like Elisa Leslie can't get a knock at a head coach job. It's just, I don't know, there's a disconnect between what these organizations want in terms of wins and losses. And obviously it's a business at the end of the day, so you want return on your investment. And when you invest in players and these facilities and these arenas, you want championships because that's your return. But then you don't bring in the type of staff and leaders who can ultimately bring you to that destination. It just seems like a backwards model to me.
Yep,
I
agreed.
agree.
And I would also, I'm sorry.
Go for it, Terrika. Go for
I
it.
would just really quickly add to that we have to also look at what these front offices look like, because sometimes in order to hire the right people, you got to have the other set of right people during the hiring. And I'm not always sure that that's the case in every situation. So sometimes the issue kind of starts a little bit at the top and we got to go a little higher to figure out how to fix it as it trickles down.
I also think in general, when it comes to coaching, and we could look at a couple coaches in this league, but I'm specifically going to look at Teaspoon with the Sky. I'm not saying it was that much better, but her record was better than what Marsh is doing this year. And she didn't really, in my opinion, get the time that she needed to actually prove that the team could go somewhere and to build that team up as a head coach. And so when I look at that too, I'm like, well, what's the kind of like time that are given to coaches and the opportunity to be able to show that they can build these programs, these organizations. And so that I think needs to be looked at too. How long are you giving one coach versus the other? Why is that happening? What is kind of the base for those decisions?
Yeah, I mean, we see that issue also in the NBA. I think there's there are unrealistic expectations put on head coaches to solve a problem that they've inherited, right? So if you don't draft a team or if you don't build a team that's capable of winning, you can recycle and put in and input different coaches into that situation as much as you want, but you can't change what is in front of you. You can only work with what you have. And I think that there are unrealistic expectations to put on coaches to make them miracle workers, and you don't give them enough tools at their disposal to make what the end result is that's desired, and that's to win championships. So I do think that it's unfair a lot of the times that we just put um just a such a burden on coaches to make situations work that just aren't going to work.
You
Absolutely.
ain't never
Well,
let
we could.
that Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns is the perfect example of why that should never be a thing.
Well, you heard Terrika
Oh,
say
that's
it.
right.
We got an example right there. Okay. But it's been, great to talk about these stories that definitely deserve some more love. And speaking of love, we're going to be talking about the US Open when we come back. So make sure you stay right there, and we'll see you right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.
So freaking special, and I've been having the run of my life here. I mean, the first day I got here, I was like, okay, let's try and get through one round. But yeah, this has been such a dream, and to come to come back from Wimbledon like that is, yeah, it's really special to me.
Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Ashley Nicole Moss is here somewhere. We're going to get her back. But I'm here right now with Terrika Foster-Brasby, and we're going to talk a little US Open, Terrika. Now, this is the first time that I have ever been. This year, I attended the US Open for the first time. And let me just tell you, I am all into tennis now. Admittedly, I'm still learning a lot, right? It's one of the sports that I've touched on, but haven't really dove into. But now I am in it like fully because of everything that has happened and also just attending in general. So let's just open this up with just a lot of different storylines that are happening. And one is Taylor Townsend. Now, we saw, the comments that was happening and just in kind of everything that happened around, yeah, there she is right there. So everything that happened around the comments that happened within the US Open after a match. It was everywhere. If you haven't seen it by now, you definitely should look it up. But one thing I wanted to talk about with Taylor is not necessarily that. We focused a lot on that. But also, I just want to focus on the fact that I wish she did not have to go through that. It wasn't something that anyone wanted to see. And it's something that women and Black women specifically do have to deal with in many facets. Whether it be in sport or in corporate settings or whatever the case may be, right? But what I do love about this is that it's a lemons to lemonade moment, in the fact that at the beginning of this, there was a video going around where she literally was going up to people asking them who Taylor Townsend was, right? And nobody knew. And now she is in everyone's household, and people are talking about her and seeing what an amazing athlete and individual that she is. And so when it comes to the US Open right now, there's so many things we could talk about, but I wanted to start with that because, I just love that she's getting the recognition that she deserves out of a moment that was not something she deserved.
Yeah, and the thing about it is Taylor Townsend isn't new to this. Like, she isn't new to
At
the
all.
sport. She isn't new to this moment. She isn't new to any of this. And I love when she did her post conference when she talked about how her son said that she was a superhero and that she was a champion to him. And that's the bigger goal. Like, I know obviously you want to walk away with the wins and the W's. And keep in mind, she's still playing for doubles. So she ain't out. She's still got a championship that she's vying for. But the ultimate goal here is to not only feel better and feel good about yourself, but to be inspiring to others. And she 100% has been an inspiration to so many other people. But to your other point, though, this sports is often a microcosm of society at large. And this was just such a great example of that saying, because while this may have played out on a larger scale and, on camera in front of a bunch of folks, everyday people deal with this in the office. Everyday people deal with this on the street. People deal with this on a regular basis. And not all of us have the grace and discipline to hold back and kind of respond in the way that Taylor responded. And so I just think she continues to give an example of, yeah, you can make lemons out of lemonade and you can use this moment to uplift and inspire others. But it's also a teaching moment to some of us that we don't always have to respond the way that we initially want to respond, because the Detroit in me responds very differently to things like that. And so I commend her for really using this moment to elevate grace and discipline and just really showing a different side of how things can be when you have to deal with a situation or a circumstance like that.
Yeah, Zoom didn't want me to be great. I don't know what happened, but I agree with everything Terrika said, but Taylor's better than me. That's all I got to say.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was an example, but she better than all of us, okay?
The New York and me don't know how to control myself. So
don't know how
God
to
bless though.
Can't do it.
I'm rooting for everyone American. That's my 2 cents.
Well, speaking of an American, Naomi Osaka, let's talk about her because she has had an incredible run in this tournament, having the best tournament run in almost 5 years for her. She said this is like a dream come true. She's now 13-0 in major quarterfinals, first semifinal at the US Open since winning it 5 years ago. I mean, when you look at the run that she's having, especially after becoming a mom, and one thing I love about Naomi Osaka is that she is completely honest at all times about the way that she feels. She brings her emotion to the table and she's transparent about it. I absolutely love that. And one emotion that she's bringing in this tournament that I love to see is the joy that Naomi is having from even just like afterwards bringing out her Labubu's. I know that you don't like those, Ashley. We've talked about those. However, okay, your face is telling the story. But just, she's having fun, and it's great to see in this US Open.
Yeah, I love that she's having fun, especially as we know, she was very honest about before she got pregnant, her mental health. She's been very honest about her postpartum. And any woman who's ever had kids could definitely relate to that. So I'm just happy to see her find her joy back and winning and crushing it. And that makes everything a lot better. Look, we'll be right back to wrap up the show. But as a reminder, just want to let you know you can always subscribe and lock into all of our social media channels so you don't miss a minute of all the content that we push out from We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And don't move because we have a little bit more for you left.
Welcome back. Now, we wouldn't be We Need to Talk Now without bringing something to the table that we need to talk about. And actually, I'm going to open this one up because we talked about Angel Reese before for her comments, but I think we need to talk about her business moves, okay? I'm going to start calling her Billionaire Barbie because she is on track to be making a lot of bread with everything that she's doing. In fact, she has her signature shoe that is coming out on September 18th. So I'm definitely going to be in line for those. But on top of that, she also this morning announced that she is she's in the ownership group, or one of the, I guess, like owners or founders now of Together. And Together, we know, is a platform that we know and love, and it centers on women's sports, and it's phenomenal. She joins a lot of other athletes in the ownership group for that. But Angel, she is not playing when it comes to anything, whether it be basketball or her business moves off the court. She's a competitor on and off, and it's definitely something that I admire in her at 23 years old. Listen, for you to be making these moves, that's something I think we definitely need to talk about. Now, what do you think needs to come to the table, Terrika?
Well, I was going to also piggyback on there and say that Angel also announced recently that she's going to be in a movie with Idris Elba. And I'm like, what are we doing here, girl? Like, you are her. Between the shoe, the investment in Together, and you get to be in a movie with Idris, I am jealous on a whole different level. So
Come on now.
shout out to Angel. Shout out to Angel doing her and making noise. But one of the things that I think we absolutely got to bring to the table is the fact that there are a few other women who are killing it in the shoe game, and my girl Asia keep bringing out these new colorways for the A1s, but also recently announced that she's a partnership with South Carolina to bring out the A2s for South Carolina, who will be playing in Paris again next year. And to me, this is just incredible. I love when people are continuing to do that pipeline between college and the WNBA. And I love that it's Asia. Like, Asia can do no wrong in my eyes when it comes to these shoes. She brings out all these colorways that I love, but being able to give to your institution who has given so much to you, the way that she continues to be a catalyst for South Carolina athletics, absolutely love it. So kudos to you, sis.
What I want to talk about is this. The first day of fall is September 22nd. I need everyone to stop posting their end of summer dumps, everyone to chill out on the pumpkin spice lattes, put the Halloween decorations away. Summer's not over. All right? It is not the fall yet. Everyone needs to take a chill pill and relax. I hate after Labor Day, everyone's like, my end of summer dump. This summer was great. It's still summertime. All right? So everyone chill out. Take a breather, maybe go on one final vacation. Yes, you can still wear white. I don't know why everyone's like, it's the fall. It's technically not fall until September 22nd at 2:19 p.m. I looked it up. That's a Monday. Mark your calendars. Until then, everyone needs to relax. It's pissing me off. That's my 2 cents of what I need to talk about.
Listen, we can tell you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, I'm
Ashley.
mad.
You have
I'm really
specific
upset.
dates and times.
White after Labor Day, sis. White after Labor Day, sis? That's white after Labor Day, sis?
I also live in Miami, so we don't follow those rules.
That's true. That's facts.
We wear white.
Rules specifically.
Okay, maybe not the white, depending on like where you are regionally. But everyone can chill out on this summer was amazing. Yeah. Like, you still have a couple weeks left. Everyone calm down. Take a breather. It's not over yet. Like, I don't know when we like decided as a collective unit that after Labor Day was the first day of fall. It's not how it works. There's a system that we have to follow. I'm just saying.
Ashley, what are your thoughts on pumpkin spice lattes then?
I'm pro pumpkin spice latte. I do love a pumpkin spice latte. I'm super pro.
I am
after
also
September
pro.
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pro too. I'm pro it. Yeah.
And I judge people who aren't. Are you not?
No, I'm not, but I'm not judging people who are. I think that's the difference. It's just not my thing. I'm actually a yam latte girl. If you guys haven't had it, you need to get with it. It's amazing. I don't like all y'all. I don't like your faces right now. It's good. You haven't even tried it yet. Don't judge it.
Something from Oregon. That's definitely something from Oregon.
That's definitely some Oregon
no, it's
stuff.
actually something from Oakland. Okay, something from Oakland, California. But anyways, listen, you guys have to go out and try it before you judge it. Fix your faces. But we're definitely going to be diving into more about women's sports every week on We Need to Talk Now. So tap in on YouTube, all the socials, every space. We're going to have a QR code for you to scan so that you can be connected. You want to join the conversation. We want you guys to be right here with us, right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.